And the meeting is being recorded. And I'm just going to jump right into the presentation. I anticipate this is not going to be a long meeting. We're just, the purpose, if I can get my computer, purpose was just to gather some feedback from the directors. Last year, you may remember we had a little problem. Two boards approved different budgets for WLFEA. We had presented multiple options and the boards chose different ones, and that's fine, but the WLFEA directors had to meet to develop a compromise, and that's how it's supposed to work. So this year we thought, well, let's do it different and work out the compromise first. So whatever we come up with tonight, we'll incorporate into a draft WLFEA budget, and then we'll present that at the board meeting next week for discussion by the entire boards. So I'm hoping we can reach a consensus tonight on some issues, and then we'll present it next week. One thing I did want to make sure that everybody remembers that, so this is the WLFEA budget. Now, when we increase the WLFEA budget, we're decreasing something for SVFR or Western Lane Ambulance District. I mean, that's just the way it has to work, is that we're taking something from them and then putting it into WLFEA. So you may see something increase in cost for WLFEA, but that typically and almost always would have been a cost that would have been increasing for Western Lane Ambulance or for SVFR. So we're not gonna make any final decisions tonight. We can't make any final decisions tonight. We're just gonna get information from the directors here, put together a budget, and then we'll present that next week. So I think we sent you out these questions beforehand. There's 4 really budget-related questions and then personnel-related questions, but which will impact the budget. So we're looking for a consensus on all these. 1, should there be a cost of living allowance for WLFEA employees? Should the districts evenly split the cost of district-specific positions? And we're going to talk about the fire marshal. And I'm also proposing that we look at the mobile integrated healthcare paramedic position currently with Western Lane Ambulance District. Should the cost of the healthcare premium be shared with WLFEA employees? And right now we've got Western Lane Ambulance District employees who pay 10% of their healthcare premium, so they're at a 90-10 split. SVFR employees, they're currently at 100% covered by the district, but they're moving to a 95.5 on July 1. So they'll be paying 5% of their healthcare cost. So we have to decide what we'd like to do with the WLFEA employees. So every year the boards need to decide what the split of the costs are going to be for WLFEA between the districts. So the first year we had talked about 50-50. Then it went to 51% for Western Lane Ambulance District and 49% for SVFR. And that was really, that extra 2% was to cover, since all our offices are here at SVFR, there's office expenses. My vehicle was paid for by SVFR, but the upkeep, so we could split that among the districts. So there's a bunch of little things. And I really didn't look hard at what the number should be. It was 51-49 was the first even numbers, you know, outside of 50-50. So it can be anything that the boards would like it to be. And we'll talk about that. We'll have an opportunity to talk about that, and you'll see our recommendation. And then 2 personnel issues. I wanted, I say approval of promotion plan for Matt House. I don't think I need approval. I do want a consensus. I do want approval that it's going into the budget, and we can talk about that. I think that's something that I have the authority to do, and it's certainly warranted in this case. And then the last one, another, it's personnel, but budget issue is should a step raise for the fire and EMS chief be in the budget? And there's a lot of things that correspond with that. But if you do award everybody else has completed their step raises, but I have one more in my contract. But that would have to be budgeted for, of course. And it says my internet connection is unstable, so I don't know if I dropped out.
You did for a bit.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, first one, should there be a COLA for WLFEA employees, and if so, how much? In each question, you're going to see this. You'll see the question. I'll give you some background and then a staff recommendation. And again, we're just looking for a consensus. WLFEA employees receive 2.5% COLA, cost of living agreement or allowance. I'm not sure which one, for fiscal year 21. Just to compare you with the other agencies. So Western Lane Ambulance District employees have been frozen. Their wages have been frozen for 2 years. So they didn't receive a COLA this year, and they won't receive one for fiscal year 22. And that was part of the contract negotiations. SVFR employees received a 1.5% COLA this year, and they'll receive 1.5% July 1, 2022. And just to give you some other background, Social Security, I think, is 1.3%. The inflation rate currently is at 1.23%. CPIU was 1.2%. So it just gives you an idea so that if you're going to award a COLA, that would certainly be in the ballpark. So I'm recommending a WLFEA COLA of 1.5%. So now this is the opportunity for directors to give us some feedback. Do you like that? You don't like that?
You have me confused a little bit here. You say WLFEA employees receive a 2.5 COLA for fiscal year 21. Aren't we talking? We're talking about budget 2021 now. So how can it? You already have a 2.5 in 21.
No, we're currently in fiscal year 21. We're talking about next year's fiscal year 22 budget.
Yeah, so this year is fiscal year 21, next year is fiscal year 22.
So for this current year, this current budget, the one we're working on right now, the one we're using right now, WLFEA employees got a 2.5% COLA.
Okay.
So we're talking what goes into effect July 1, 2022, which would be July 1, 2021, what would be the COLA for, and that's fiscal year 22. So does anybody have any comments on, is that okay? Is that too much, not enough?
Well, I'll be the bad guy. I think you should get the same as WLAD, but that's hard to do when we're dealing with 3 different organizations. That's
exactly. We've had that problem every year. Because I mean, SVFR people could use the same argument.
Right.
The way I look at it is that on the SVFR side only, is that when you look at the comparables, and most of us started off as SVFR employees, and we were pretty much below comparables. So I see us as catching up. I see the Western Lane employees that are pretty much right at there, or maybe slightly above on their comparables. So.
But
really,
so last year, so this for current fiscal year, WLFEA got 2.5 COLA.
Correct.
But SVFR only got 1.5.
That was part of the contract negotiations.
Yeah, but that's what
they agreed upon. Yes.
But that's what they got was 1.5.
Correct.
WLFEA got 2.5.
Correct.
So I call for a COLA for WLFEA of 1%.
1%? Okay. What do the other directors feel?
This is Spade. Yeah, I agree with Cindy there that probably a 1.0 is more balanced in line with WLFEA getting the 2.5 for this year, and cut that back a little bit and make it a little more even.
Okay, and Jim?
I would agree. I definitely would, because we're still talking about I don't want to confuse us all, but I mean, it is really convoluted.
Yeah.
And
oh, absolutely.
I think the 1% is fair at this point.
Okay. And John?
Agree.
Okay. We will recommend to the board's 1%. And we'll have a summary slide at the end where we'll go over all the consensus agreements. Okay. Next question. Should the districts evenly split the cost of district-specific positions? In the background, we moved the fire marshal to WLFEA, and that started on January 1st. And that's really, we're trying to move all administrative personnel to WLFEA. And we just promoted Tony, new administrative position, got him out of the bargaining unit. He's, administrative personnel, moved him to WLFEA. But since his duties primarily benefit SVFR, the district, the fire district, SVFR has been paying 100% of his wages and benefits and for all his supplies. And that's fine. I think that's fair. Going forward, it does create more work to split some things and not other things. So I was thinking about, well, we have a mobile integrated health paramedic over at Western Lane, which is an administrative position. She is not in the bargaining unit. Could we move her to WLFEA? It wouldn't change anything what she does. She would still do the same things that she's doing now. Wouldn't change her job description. It's just she would be a WLFEA employee. Now that position is funded entirely by a grant from Peace Health. So even though if we moved that position to WLFEA, then the cost would be split. Western Lane would still be getting the entire amount from the grant. They would just be only paying for essentially half of the MIH position and then half of the fire marshal position. Now the fire marshal position is he's at a higher salary and his benefits are a little bit higher. So there is a little bit of it's not a match. It's not a 1-for-1 match, which I would propose then when we're talking about the split, maybe we adjust the split. But so our recommendation is that we move the MIH position to WLFEA. That would be all the administrative personnel then in WLFEA, and that we just include their salary and benefits in the WLFEA budget, and then we just split between the two parent districts the cost. So discussion, questions?
Does ambulance put any money towards MIH, or is that all funded 100% by grant?
It is funded I think it's 100% by grant. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dina or Matt.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's 100% by the grant.
So we would be moving 100%, and that means SVR would still be paying nothing. And we're going to be paying 50% of the fire marshal, which we get no benefits from.
No, it wouldn't be an increase. You wouldn't be paying any more. It would be, you're only paying for half of what's the MIH, and SVFR would be paying for half. And then we'd also split the fire marshal.
But if it's funded by grant, we aren't paying nothing.
Right, and that's the money that would be used to pay half of the MIH and half of the fire marshal.
I think it's muddying the waters, especially when we go back to Peace Health and ask them for more grants on the MIH program. They're going to say, but you're taking half of that money and you're using it for something else.
Oh no, we wouldn't tell them that at all. It's to fund the MIH program, and that's what we would essentially. That's what we'd say. I think what I'm saying is that essentially it would be that SCFR is picking up half the MIH and half the fire marshal, and then same for
you're really confusing me, Chief.
Okay.
What is Siuslaw Valley and Fire going to pick up? Nothing, because it's funded 100% with a grant. They have no cash out of their budget to pay.
But that money that money just goes to revenue for Western Lane Ambulance District.
But if I'm Peace Health and you come to me and say, okay, let's do this MIH for another 3, 4, whatever, how many years? You give us the money. And
Yes.
I'm Peace Health and I say, well, apparently, according to the budgets I can look at, you're able to support half of it because the fire department's paying half of it. So I'm only going to give you half the money.
Yeah, but no, that would be a misinterpretation of what we're doing. And I understand what you're saying completely. And I know the confusion. It's not really though. I mean, there wouldn't be any change. That money would still be used to support the MIH position. So I guess you could say that let's move them both to WLFEA, and But when we do the WLFEA budget, we're splitting it down the middle. So we're not saying, okay, this part is 100% fire marshal and this part is 100% MIH. We're just saying Western Lane's paying this much, SVFR is paying this much. And so it doesn't really change what we're doing. It's just we don't have to split up the positions independently. I'm sorry, it's sounding confusing when I'm saying it, but it's
Well, the difference being, well,
it wouldn't be any more cost to Western Lane Ambulance District or to SVFR.
It's going to be more cost because the fire marshal makes more than the MIH.
Well, and that's why I say, instead of doing 5149, what if we do 50-50 and make it up there?
we lost you, chief.
What if we do, can you hear me now?
Yes.
So that's why I'm saying, instead of maybe not doing 5149, maybe we do 50-50, because it's like $10,000 or $20,000 more. And so, and I agree that it shouldn't cost Western Lane Ambulance more.
No, it shouldn't. And if anything, chief, the MIH position to me, and I'm just speaking from, is an incredibly important position.
Yes,
I would
yes,
hate
absolutely.
to see that position be, I don't want to say lost in the shuffle, but almost it would be. And I know fire marshal positions are important. They both serve a valued service to the overall operation. And if we're going to split something 50-50, I fully agree that we should be making sure that MIH is taken care of. I would hate
Oh, yeah,
to see that
absolutely.
get lost.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it would just be a matter of, maybe I'll try it this way. We move Wendy to WLFEA, that's our MIH paramedic. We also move the fire marshal. Western Lane is still receiving that grant money. That is still their revenue. That doesn't change. But then we've increased the WLFEA budget for the MIH position and the fire marshal position. So the positions still do what they do. Wendy is still out of the ambulance base, Station 10. Tony is still out of Station 1. That doesn't change. Maybe their paycheck would change. It would say WLFEA, wouldn't say Western Lane Ambulance District or Wendy's. So then, yeah, so the cost would go up for the WLFEA budget, but then it would go down for the Western Lane budget. You wouldn't be paying Wendy directly, you'd be paying WLFEA to support her. Does that make more sense, or am I confusing people more?
Well, I'm still, I guess I'm thick-headed. I'm still not understanding how you're telling me it's no more cost to Western Lane Ambulance District when we're adding 1/2 of an employee's cost to the new budget that we do not have now.
So right now, SVFR is paying 100% of the fire marshal.
Correct.
Western Lane Ambulance District is paying 100% of the MIH paramedic. Correct?
But they
Correct.
get a grant.
But we get a grant that pays
Sure.
for that.
Sure, but that,
So there's
that's
no
a-
money out of our general fund towards that personnel cost.
well, yeah, there you get that as revenue and then you pay it out. But I agree. That's and that doesn't change.
Right.
So if we move Wendy to WLFEA, then Western Lane would, the money that they were paying to her, they would pay to WLFEA, who pays to her,
Correct?
just like we do everything else now. So that's really what I'm saying.
That's a wash to Western
Yes.
Lane Ambulance District.
Yes.
But the fire marshal position is not a wash. That cost us 50% of the fire marshal's salary that we are not paying now.
Right, but and then SVFR could say, well, that's 50% of the MIH position that we're not paying now.
But,
And I see that as a wash.
but there is no cash coming out of SVFR's budget for the MIH. It's all funded by a grant.
Right now, but if we moved her to WLFEA, they would be obligated to pay half if we do a 50-50 split.
So we're going to lose half of the grant is what you're telling me.
No,
Then
you're still
there's
paying
no-
the same amount.
I'm confused now too. This is Spade. I'm with John. I don't understand the reasoning. If the fire marshal position, I would think would be played totally by SVFR, and the
Yes.
MI position would be funded by the ambulance district by Peace Health through them.
It is. That's where we currently are. That is where we currently are.
So
And we can continue doing that, keeping them separate. Then we just have to, it's an added step to bill SVFR separately for the fire marshal. So we would have to back him out of the budget because that wouldn't be split 50-50.
I say leave it the way it is with the two separate.
I'm confused on the extra step, Chief. He's in WFEA now, so SVFR is paying his wages currently. Nothing would change if we leave it as is on their side.
Yeah, but we don't charge Western Lane 50% of, or 51% of his salary.
Correct, because it's a fire.
Right. So that's where this, instead of just splitting our cost, here are our costs, let's do a 51-49 split. We say, well, let's do a 51-49 split, but the fire marshal's different. He's over here. This is an extra charge to SVFR, an extra payment from SVFR to WLFEA.
well, I think the fire marshal extra payment should be in addition to the 50% of the or 51% of the budget.
It is.
Outside of that,
It is. That's why we kept it separate, because it didn't make sense. I was just trying to keep it at the 50-50 split or 51-49 split, and then just add a
No,
position from each side and to make it even. But if that's,
no,
it's not a big deal. Okay, so I think the consensus is to just leave the MIH and Western Lane Ambulance District and then to charge SCFR separately for the fire marshal.
that's my vote.
that's what I say. Spade, yes.
Okay?
Yep.
And I agree too, Chief,
Okay.
but I got a question for you.
Sure.
On the, because I do feel strongly about the MIH position being a critical element in providing service to the community.
No, absolutely.
If for heavens forbid, that grant dried up, do we have enough funding that we can absorb that position and make sure that it stays operational?
It would be a high priority. We would have to move things around. I think the grant right now is $125,000 a year.
Okay.
That doesn't all go to salary, of course. I mean, there's supplies, there was a vehicle. We are in active discussions, not only with Peace Health, but other providers, Pacific Source, to see if they would support this program. So absolutely, it's a very important position. Most of what she does benefits Peace Harbor directly. So I think I would be very adamant that, hey, you guys need to pitch in for this. I mean, she follows up with their patients.
Right.
So I think it's a huge benefit to Peace Harbor directly. So I think, yeah, if we can get somebody else to help pay for it, absolutely. If we were to pay for it 100%, then I think her job duties would change. There wouldn't be as much direct follow-up on Peace Harbor patients as there would be on just our citizens, doing, fall evaluations and things like that. So that would change.
That brings me to my next question to you. This person that currently holds the position, she's capable of responding on emergencies if necessary?
She is a paramedic. I don't think that she responds.
But she is trained and could be utilized for emergency services if necessary, correct?
Yeah, I believe absolutely. Matt, you might want to pitch in, but she's a paramedic and
she's a paramedic.
I've seen her on a call, but
Yeah, she is a paramedic and she does work in the ER part-time as well. She has a lot of great experience. So it's just a matter of her going through the task book and making sure she's meeting the AHJ's authority and jurisdiction.
I think Jim's question is, she could be utilized in a major event if necessary.
Thanks, John.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then to tag on to Jim's question, Chief, if Peace Health decides not to fund that position, how long in advance would we know that so we could go to work on figuring out if we could fund it?
I don't think it would be, well, I think isn't fiscal year 22 or the second year of the grant, Matt? So we'd have what, a year maybe?
Yeah, we're entering the second year of the last previous contract with them.
And really what they're paying on the grant is more than what, so, I mean, we could extend it, I think, a couple months with the grant.
But do we, I guess what I'm asking, do we go into negotiations with them 6 months before the grant expires, or 30 days, or?
I think they're the ones that really push this, making sure this position is funded. So I think they would, I mean, right now we're talking about what happens when the grant ends. We've had meetings with Pacific Source. So they are actively looking to how to fund this position. So they are active partners with us on that.
Okay, thank you.
And I would say it was a 6-month window last time we started getting and evaluating everything, getting Peace Health leadership on board with it with Jason Hawkins, that was able to secure this last grant.
Excuse me. Chief,
I
do you-
believe
Go ahead, Cindy.
also that at one time we were talking about adding another person, a part-timer on with Wendy so that there was more coverage for this position. And so that's another reason I'm against having them put into WLFEA, is if we have 2 people doing that position, then it muddies the waters even more.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, we are. I mean, we haven't been talking as much because of the funding issues. But I think, yeah, we would like to have 7 days a week coverage. Yeah.
Chief, a question.
Sure.
Further in the show here, have you got a place that you're going to talk about the 5149 split section, or do we?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, next question. Should the cost of healthcare premium be shared with WLFEA employees? And the background, WLFEA employees currently have 100% of their healthcare premium, and that's medical, dental, and vision, covered by the authority. That's the same as SVFR employees, and that's where we came up with that. Western Lane Ambulance District employees, they pay 10% of their healthcare premium. That's saying they're at 90/10. We did just reach an agreement, part of the contract with SVFR employees. They'll start paying 5% of their healthcare premium starting July 1, 2021, so coming up. So then that means we'd have 3 different deductions here unless we change WLFEA. So along with that, SCFR employees paying 5%, we raised their wages to cover that one-time raise of the wages. So it's 5% of the healthcare premium, not 5% of their wages, but 5% of their healthcare premium has been added to their wages starting July 1, 2021 to cover that. So again, it's a one-time cost. Future healthcare increases will be shared then at 95/5 with the employees. We do hope to move to 90/10 with SVFR employees with the next negotiation, so it would match Western Lane. So staff recommendation is move WLFEA employees from the 100% district covered to a 95/5 share starting July 1, 2021. But then to give them the same wage increase, the one-time wage increase, which is 5% of the premium amount. And that varies from $500 a year to, I think the highest was $1,500 a year, depending on if they were, spouse and children or just employee coverage. So questions?
Well, I'll speak up. It's
Yeah.
police. I want to get them close to where the other 2 current bargaining agreements are. Again, we're talking about a convoluted system here. And if we're going to try to marry this up, I really think that they should be part of this and get them into that 95.5 premium.
So now remember though, even though we're increasing their wages by that amount, we're
Right.
taking it back for their deductible. So it's
Right.
not a complete wash. There is a little bit of cost to the district
I understand.
because we have to pay PERS on that and taxes and stuff.
Correct.
But we're getting most of that back. We're getting 90% of that back. So you could move WLFEA to 90/10 if you wanted to raise their wages 10% of the healthcare. We could do that, or we could do the 95.5 and plan on going to 90/10 next time. Or keep them at 100%. It's up to you guys.
I'm okay with your recommendation there, but then also move the WFIA employees to a 95/10 share as July 1, 2022.
You mean a 90/10?
You mean 90/10? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fair.
we can do that.
And then I think we look at it then to try and get the same for both union contracts when they come up and the WFIA employees.
And that was the understanding with the SVFR contract, the employees there, that we want to go to 90/10 so it matches Western Lane Ambulance District, and they were open to that. They just wanted to see how it was going to work, and so that's fine. And that was a compromise. So
I concur with the staff recommendations also. I think that's good. Good
okay.
split.
How about you, Cindy?
That's okay.
Cool. Okay, here you go, John. So the vision of WLFEA costs. So per the IGA, Western Lane pays 51% of the authority costs and SCFR pays 49%. And that's based on just that, our offices are here. And so we got, heating costs and air conditioning costs and paper costs and copier. And so we came up with 5149. It has to be determined each year by the districts. The districts have to agree. We can continue with the 5149 split. Yeah, you see my second recommendation was go to 50/50 if we added the MIH to the authority, but that's not going to happen. So I'm okay with staying with the 5149, or if you guys want to come up with something different, we can do that.
Well, I'll speak up here.
Sure.
I mean, it seems like Western Lane Ambulance District at the 5149 split, you just mentioned we were paying for paper costs, copy costs, and all of that.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, every month you bill us for 50% of the paper cost, copy cost in our regular budget. So I think we're paying twice.
No, you pay 51% of the total cost, and that is monthly.
Okay.
So no, it's only once.
There's also utilities involved, with us being in this building. You've got water, sewer, electric, all that.
So
So I've got a question is how did the 5149 come about from the 50/50? Why was it just 1%? And what was the rationale behind that decision?
Sam, that's a good question. It was really, we thought it had to be higher than 50% for Western Lane just for those administrative costs. And 51% is the next after 50. It's not any more complicated than that. And we're going to look and see what the actual costs are. It's tough to determine what the actual costs are. Maybe 50.5 and 49.5 might be more accurate.
the perception's not good because Chief House has an office at Western Lane Ambulance District also, and
Correct.
SGFR does not pay for 50% of that office either.
Correct.
So
Why everybody else is over here.
Why do we have to pay for 50% of Chief House's office at the fire hall if they don't reciprocate and pay for 50% of his office at the ambulance district?
Yeah, but even if he didn't have an office here, the costs here aren't going to change. Although he has the thermostat in his office, it doesn't control just his office. It's everywhere. I hear what you're saying, John. And if you want to propose 50-50,
I'm just saying that the perception looks horrible. I
But
don't know
do
what
you
the
agree
dollar
that-
and cents is.
you agree that there are office costs here at the station that are being used to support the Western Lane mission, Western Lane Ambulance District mission?
One team, one mission. We don't have two different missions.
Hey, John, I'm okay with 50-50.
I'm just giving you a hard time, Chief.
I know you are.
We have
This is why I didn't want to do this in front of both boards.
so
And I-
Chief, do we have a dollar figure for that 1%? Any idea what we're talking about there when we talk
Yeah,
about?
it's like $20,000. I mean, it's a 2% split. So it's about $20,000.
So you were talking about $10,000 per point.
Yes.
Okay. But that pays for a lot of copy paper and
Absolutely. That's why it has to be, that's why we need a discussion each year. I mean, is it fair? And I'm not saying it is fair. I'm not saying it's not fair. I'm just saying this is what it is. What do you think would be fair, John?
I don't know. I don't know what you spend a year on paper or pens or, you know.
Well, it doesn't matter. It would be, should you pay 51% of it or should you pay half, 50%?
Well, that's a hard call for me because I don't know if Western Lane Ambulance, the electricity is the only thing that really stands out that the fire department is paying that we actually use for what I'll say for 50% of Matt and 50% of Holly, and
Sure.
Laura does 50% work for the ambulance district also. So I don't know. I'm okay with it the way it is if everybody else is. I just don't know how to justify it at 51.49 or 50.50. I have no way in my mind to justify either one.
Well, I'll chime in, John, on this. I think it should be 50-50, to be honest. I mean, you know, we go on emergencies together and it's not 49% responding and 51% responding, it's 50-50. And so I'm looking at it like, yeah, there's a cost, but I think that if we're long-term, that we really truly want to be one, let's start sharing it equally. That's just how I feel.
And you know, Jim, you jogged my memory really good there by that. And I tend to agree with it. There's one thing in this equation we have not talked about.
Okay.
Western Lane Ambulance District is paying 50% of the insurance cost for WLFEA, and probably 95% of the exposure for WLFEA is the fire department.
Okay. That's good to know.
I mean, in my opinion,
Yeah.
You mean, no, it'd be
95.
It'd be the ambulance, right?
well, no, I'm the WLFEA staff.
Yeah.
I'm going to say is most likely not to make a decision that could impact the public, except for we'll have MIH might make a decision that would impact the public and the fire marshal will. I mean, for a true liability exposure of doing something wrong. So
Sure.
I don't know. There's just a lot of it's whatever the rest of them want to do, I'm okay with. It's just hopefully it's short term and we get this all rectified in the next.
Oh, I absolutely hope this is the last time we have to do this and we just throw everything together. So I've had a 50-50 from Jim.
I think a 50-50 is good for perception of how it looks to everybody involved. Is even split, even buy into the whole cost.
Okay, so we've got 50-50 from the SVFAR board members. How about Western Lane Ambulance
Okay,
District?
that's fine.
Okay. And
That's
Cindy,
fine with me. It's fine with me.
I think there may, I don't know this for a fact, but there may be some pushback from SVFR. I know some directors have said 51's not high enough, but I think we have a good argument for 50-50 and I'll certainly support that.
Thank you.
Well, if nothing else, we're going with more with SVFR benefits for WLFEA than we are for going for the packages that we're giving to Western Lane. Right there, makes
That's
up for some of the
That's why we
percentage.
moved it back. We're giving you better benefits in Western
Yeah.
Maine.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So,
Boy, Chief switching, he gets a new WFIA board next year, isn't he, guys?
no, I love you guys. I do. Okay. So this is something that's real easy. So I plan on promoting Matt next year. I don't, I'll give you a background, so he was Western Lane Ambulance District Operations Manager. We moved him to the EMS Operations Chief with WLFEA. His counterpart was Jim Dickerson, a Fire Ops Chief who left. And then we appointed Matt as Operations Chief for both agencies. So he's doubled his workload by managing the two divisions, but there's been no change in his compensation other than he got the WLFEA COLA last year. So my plan is to promote him to Assistant Chief. The one requirement I have for that, and that's the next step in his promotional path, I'd like him to get his Chief EMS Officer certification. And I've talked to him with that, and we're helping him with that. But to do that, there would be, we put in, there's a promotional raise of 5.3% going from a division chief to assistant chief. So we'd like to put that in the budget. So I think that's my authority is to promote him, but I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware that that would be in the budget and that you're okay with not only the promotion, but that promotional raise of 5.3%. He's trying really hard to get it done July 1. I hope he does, but it may be further into the fiscal year before he actually gets that raise.
And I'll start this conversation. I am okay with this. And the big reason to me is a perpetuation plan for the districts.
Sure.
When Western Lane Ambulance lost our director due to death, we had no perpetuation plan, nobody to step in. If we have truly an assistant chief and written in, if something happens to Chief Schick, our assistant steps in and takes over.
Oh, that's in his job description. So that's a given. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just think perpetuation is important for.
Now, there's another step, deputy chief, and that's typically what you see a deputy position should be prepared to assume full-time, the top position. Matt has a few things I'd like him to do. I don't know if he wants to do those. I think he's very happy where he is, but down the road, I certainly will talk to him about that. There are a few other certifications maybe we can look at, but that's certainly in his future if he wants to do something like that.
Well, Chief, I think that as the agency grows, the span of control is going to change. So when the span of control changes, then we go from the assistant to the deputy. But I am totally supportive of this, of getting Chief House up to that assistant chief rank.
Well, and we do hope to have a division chief of training here at some point in the future, and
Good.
that would be under Matt. So yeah, absolutely.
Can I just ask a quick question regarding what you just said on the training? The MIH position is still very important, even though I'm predominantly fire. Can that individual be also utilized in the event that grant goes away? Can we use that person to be a training assistant to do whatever? I'm just wanting to make sure that we're always covered on both sides of the house.
Possibly on the EMS side. She's not a firefighter. I don't think she's a firefighter, Matt. I don't know what her experience on that side, but we would do whatever we could, and certainly the boards would be involved in that discussion.
Okay.
I'm with you, Jim. That's a position, and it's my entire career I've had either starting an MIH program or had one. Absolutely, I know the importance. I would do everything in my power to keep that position.
Thank you.
Okay, so now the last one would just be a step raise for the fire and EMS chief. So I'm the only employee left that has a step raise. It's in my contract. It is provision that it's pending the outcome of my evaluation, which I'm getting next week. So it's not guaranteed in my contract. It's just specified in my contract. So we have been giving step raises to Western Lane and SCFR employees. in the past, they've gotten a COLA as well. SCFR employees are eligible for the step raise and COLA. I don't like that. I think that's double dipping a little bit. And so I put my foot down, unfortunately, for WLFEA employees last year and said, you can have a step raise or the COLA, whichever is greater. So I haven't been giving that both to my employees. So we do want to get, maybe this is more of a consensus for this, that should we budget the step raise? And it's about 5% of my salary, with the understanding that, pending the outcome of annual evaluation, and then that would make me ineligible for the COLA.
I raised my hand on something. I just want to go back to the last question, the previous one. Did Cindy and Sam have anything? I didn't hear if they agreed.
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay, great. Sorry.
Okay. So we're back to step raise for the fire chief.
So you're not taking a COLA, but you're taking a step.
That is our proposal.
And then you will be maxed out with your steps with your contract?
Correct.
If we decide not to give you step and only give you COLA, does that move the step to the following year?
That would, no, it would be evaluated the next year.
So it's not forever gone, it's just moved.
I'm sort of independent of everybody else. I serve at
Well, according to your
board.
contract.
I serve at the whim of the board, so you could do whatever you want. You could propose whatever you want with my contract. It's not clear if the steps are mandatory each year. They are in the union contracts. It's not as clear in my contract. I think I could probably interpret it that way, but again, whatever the board would like to do.
I agree with staff recommendation, and we'll take it back to both boards, because your evaluation is next week, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Real quick right there, so the board members will know. I'm down to the final step. I'm slow with my technical abilities of getting all the comments entered into the evaluation form on one form under each category. I'll have that done over the weekend. So I will have the total evaluation package to each one of you board members on Monday. And then you can review it ahead. Now, Chief and the other three fellow board members, do you want, say, myself and one WLFEA board to go over it with the chief before the board meeting and we present it to the public? Or what do you guys normally do in a case like this?
Well, the evaluation, I don't think is necessarily public. Certainly my compensation is.
No, but I mean, boards usually say you got an outstanding or a better than normal evaluation. They make that known to the public.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Not each individual piece, Chief. I'm just saying.
Yeah. In the past, I have sat down with, I've only had one board and just sat down with the board president, to go over it. And actually then it was never over the entire board, but
Okay, Chief, can you and I sit down next Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah.
I'll call you when I get it done and make an appointment with you.
Okay.
That okay, fellow board members?
Sure, absolutely.
So should we budget for the step raise or not?
Well, I'll agree with Jim.
Okay. Sam was okay.
I'll go with recommendation also.
Okay.
Step is fine with Sam too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Say, John,
But I have a question about the evaluation.
Sure.
In the past, it's been both boards. So now it's only WLFEA board that evaluates you, or is your actual employee of all
boards.
three boards?
Cindy, I received back 7 evaluations from 7 board members 3 board members I have not got yet or don't anticipate getting. But yeah, both boards were given the opportunity, Cindy.
Oh, I don't know that I received one, so, okay.
I don't think I did either, John.
Well,
In fact, I would like to meet as the vice president of the WLFEA board. I'd like to meet with you and the chief when you have your meeting, if that's okay.
Certainly, Sam, I'll let you. Chief, could you email the forms to Cindy and Sam?
I will do that.
And could you guys get them done possibly tomorrow? And get them.
Sure.
Sure.
If Dina would send that to my
Thank you.
home email.
So John,
Absolutely.
we have an executive session scheduled for following the March 25th meeting. Do you still want to, and that was for both boards, is this
Right.
meeting going to take the place of that, or you still want to
No,
have
no.
that?
I still want to have that.
Okay,
Yeah.
just want
Yeah.
to make sure.
Thank you,
So
guys.
just, what's that?
Thank you.
Sure. Just to recap. So cost of living is 1%.
Yes,
The MIH is going to stay with Western Lane Ambulance District. SCFAR will pay 100% for the fire marshal.
yes,
Healthcare will be 95.5, and then next year we'll propose that it goes to 90-10 for WLFEA employees.
yes,
The share will be 50-50.
yes.
Promotion plan's been approved for Chief House, and step raise pending evaluation. It will be in the budget pending evaluation.
That's how I remember.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
And so I was going to show you this budget, but since you disagreed with some of my staff recommendations, it's going to be modified a little bit. So that's why we couldn't send you the budget. But
That's fine.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let me stop sharing here somehow. Whoops. So, any questions from anybody?
I would just like to say one thing, Chief. I apologize to the board for not being on there. My computer I normally get this on is downtown, and I haven't been down there in a couple of days. So I got behind the power curve, and I'm going to try to get Dina to put that information on my computer I carry with me every day so I can keep updated.
Damn, that's a new picture of you I'm looking at.
Yeah, I'm growing a bigger mustache now.
Yeah, buddy.
What a cool dog.
I can't stop sharing.
I like that.
Dina, can you stop sharing for me, or my mouse won't go over there?
You want us just to sign off, Chief?
Well, I don't know if you're seeing my grandson or my dog. I got them both.
Oh.
up
Dog.
here.
Your dog.
The dog.
If that's your grandson, you better get a new grandson.
Yeah, no, well, he's on my other computer, and I share him too, but I can't.
I like that.
My mouse is not working for whatever reason.
Are we all done, good guys?
We are done.
Okay.
Everybody have a good evening.
Yes.
Thanks,
have a very
everybody.
good- Thank you. Good night.
All right, thank you.